Greg was playing in the park after school as he always did. He was pretending to be a Viking, plundering villages and sailing the seas at the playground sandbox, when the school bullies found him there. They were 2 grades above him and picked on him daily. They said he was too old for Vikings and pirates. They even went as far to tell the whole school that Greg still wore diapers, which wasn't true at all. Greg was so terrified he hid behind the big rock he was using as his ship. He was hoping the bullies would leave since he was already cowering, but they didn't. They surrounded him on all sides. Greg couldn't do anything but shut his eyes. The head bully, Darren, picked Greg up by the back of his shirt and laughed in his face. They all lunged at Greg, reaching, grabbing for him. But Greg crawled underneath one of the bullies and ran towards the woods. Greg's mom told him to never go through the woods. There had been sightings of bears and other large animals that he should stay away from. He could also get lost through the thick trees, but Greg's house was just on the other side. It was the fastest way to get home, and this was an emergency. The bullies followed him into the woods, still yelling at Greg. He tried going in all different directions, but the bullies still followed. Greg had to keep running, and he did. He ran and ran and ran, and he tripped over a branch or a rock he didn't see, and fell down a very, very steep hill. He rolled and bounced and stopped for a second, and tried to get up, but when he did, the little ledge crumbled under his knees, and he fell again. Greg thought for sure he'd break his arm, or his leg, or both, when he would hit the ground. But he never hit the ground. Instead, he fell onto something very soft and plush. Greg didn't break any body parts. Whatever he fell on felt almost like his bed. Greg was beginning to think that the whole day was just a bad dream, and when he opened his eyes, it would all be over, and it'd be time for school, and Mom would have pancakes waiting for him on the table. But he didn't smell any pancakes, and it wasn't his bed either. Greg had fallen onto something very fuzzy. Greg thought maybe he fell on a bear, or some other large animal. Greg tried to slowly crawl off without waking the animal, but he slipped and landed on one of the animal's toes. The animal cried out, and Greg shut his eyes again, as he always did when he was scared. Greg began to cry. He thought for the second time today that maybe, just maybe, it was all a dream, and he wasn't about to get eaten by a giant bear. Although Greg didn't speak wild animal, he began trying to say sorry to the creature, and Greg was sorry. He didn't mean to step on the animal's foot. It was an accident. Greg soon felt something pick him up and hug him. Greg opened his eyes to see he was enveloped in the thick fur that he fell on from the cliff. When he was set back down, he was finally able to see the creature he had encountered. Greg didn't know any bears that could hug, or any other that had horns. The only animals he knew that had horns were deers and rhinos, and this animal in front of him was neither a deer nor a rhino. The furry animal with horns waved and smiled at Greg. Greg nervously smiled back, but was so scared he might get eaten. Greg asked the creature what he was, but the creature didn't know what Greg had said. Greg thought the creature was so tall that he didn't speak loud enough, so he yelled at him. But this scared the creature, and he held his head and began to back away from Greg. Greg tried to say sorry when the creature fell and rattled the whole forest, maybe even the whole neighborhood, Greg thought. Greg said he was sorry and that he wouldn't yell anymore. The creature understood and smiled. Greg didn't have any friends at school and always wanted someone to plunder villages with. Greg asked the creature to be friends, and the creature smiled. Greg decided to call him Kenny. They would play together every day after school, and even on weekends, Greg had decided. They could go on camping trips and make s'mores, maybe even play hide and seek. Kenny walked Greg home, and Greg told his mom at dinner that he had made a new friend. His mom smiled, and Greg started thinking of what villages him and his new Viking friend could plunder tomorrow.